There we go.
You gotta wet the palate. But
Alright.
we probably just gonna call this shit big. You'll see why. Yeah, let me clear my throat. Def P, just in case you didn't already know. I came back to spit crack, breaking a couple backs in the way a nigga raps. Would've got us a gift, but excuse me while I light this spliff. Getting toasted at Coachella with the hippies and shit. Not a Mason, but I'm
It's
giving
connecting
you
right
these
now,
lyrical
so just
bricks,
give it a minute.
illuminating instrumentals like I flipped the switch. Goddamn, the kid ain't playing. Ball so hard and you niggas, you wanna miss it. Later
It's
than
Zoom,
Mac,
don't
about to win a cool grade.
Alright,
The man with the plan got the world.
I'm talking about YouTube, but they can hear us. They can hear you.
So G, leaving stains in the streets with a few young freaks. Fuck a minute, I've been killing this shit for weeks. Geek with Jessica Rabbit trying to give it a D. I ain't never been afraid to speak my mind. Wear my heart on my sleeves, spit some deep ass rhymes. But today I'm just smiling, styling,
So 30 seconds from
profiling.
now.
Same color as Verizon. Fresh to death, a new idea from the casket. Dogging these niggas who acting hard, but they flaccid. Arrogant bastard. Nah, baby, that's the damn Leonardo to these niggas. Come and catch me if you can. See, I'm riding through the city, rolling a couple.
Welcome
Phillies,
everybody to the Sit Down Live. Tonight my guest is Ivan from Sneaker Shouts, one of the newest kind of upstart sites to really take hold on the social scene for sneakers. We got a lot to talk about tonight. A lot has happened since the last show. I want to before we get going with Ivan, I want to talk a little bit. Cousins brand has a special buy one get one free promo, and the link is in the description. Oh well, see, I guess Ivan's a fan of the Cousins brand.
Yeah, nah, we're cool. Cousins brand's a great brand.
So also, and thanks to Cousins for the help and the support they provide the show every single week. The link will be in the description. I'll tweet it out also for the buy one get one sale. If you type in the sit down at checkout, you'll get an additional 30% off. So anybody who's interested in that can check that out. And we're going to get started on all the different things that happened. And Ivan, a lot of shit has happened this week. It's been a very busy week on our platform and in the social world of sneakers. I kind of want to start with this show. We had Rack on last week. I thought he did a great job kind of talking about what he's got going on and just coming to the table with some strong opinions. And, him and I, we kind of went off and Rack is heavy into the YouTube thing, and that's where the conversation steered. And I think we kind of ruffled some feathers there talking about, the videos getting stale and the content that people are putting out. And, there was definitely some people that were, I don't want to use the word upset, but at the very least salty, disappointed, frustrated maybe a little bit by what we said. But you and I were talking offline here, and YouTube is a powerful medium, but not one that everybody consumes.
Correct. Yeah, like I said, offline. I think it's a specific channel. It's different than a blog. It's different than a social media feed like Twitter or Instagram, and it's a way that some kids, younger kids, definitely keep track of what's going on and what's going on with I think outside of sneakers. You have a lot of people who do comedy or sneakers, or there's this bigger world on YouTube out there, and I think it's targeted to a more specific audience.
And let's not fail to realize that it really is a great avenue for people to monetize and make money off of something that they love to do. And I think that was something that maybe we missed last week when we were talking about it. And I don't want to think for one second that I'm begrudging anybody's right to earn, because please, by all means, make your money. And I don't judge or cast aspersions on anybody who's making money or making a living based on YouTube and using sneakers for that. I think that's great for them. But that doesn't mean I have to like the content that's produced.
No, not at all. And I think a misperception is that these guys don't have other jobs. There's only a few YouTube guys that would really make a living off of it. But I mean, it's not something that's too sustainable. Or I think in the blogging world, you compare it to like AdSense. It's not something that, we can all quit our jobs. So I think a lot of them do it for the passion versus for the money.
Right. You think, do you think that there's like a plateau for it? Do you think it's on do you think like we're getting to the point?
To the point where it will explode and you could sustain a career?
To the point where the best is behind us.
I don't. I mean, the data shows that I think, there's less people subscribing to TV and more people getting online for their content.
It's definitely the audience is definitely huge. And listen, again, I don't want to discredit the guys that have built a huge audience because there's a skill that's involved in that.
Yeah.
Just because I think it may suck. I may think a TV show that wins an Emmy sucks. That doesn't mean that it's not good. It's just, it sucks to me.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it has a certain demographic or a targeted audience, and you just don't fall in it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think people sometimes get it mixed up or feel personal towards someone's opinion. But I mean, me myself, I just do what I have to do, and who likes it, and who doesn't. I mean, you can't let that get in your way. To please everybody, I would need like 3 or 4 of me.
So, and before we get to what you do, because you got a really successful sneaker site and you're doing a whole lot of really dope stuff that I think that this audience is going to really kind of open their eyes to. Complex came out last Wednesday. We hadn't seen a list from Complex in a long time. And they come out with the 25 coolest things in sneakers right now. And I think when you dig through it and you get to the point where they talk about Brad Hall and they talk about, I think even La Puma tweeted that unboxing videos need a twist, that they're getting lame. I don't know if that's an exact quote, but the article said it, Joe said it, me and Rack said it here. And I think that caused a lot of, listen, it was, I don't know if you saw it on your timeline, but it was all over the social channels for days.
Yeah.
Some of the guys took that very personally, as a conglomerate of opinions that were in line. And I think it was, first of all, nice to see complex lists. I'm a fan of them. I like to cry about them when I don't make one. I like to celebrate when I do.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with celebrating.
But and I do appreciate the guys for putting this show on the list at number 19 or wherever it fell. But I'm happy to see the lists are back, and I hope we get one tomorrow, because it's nice when we come on Tuesday night, Complex comes out with a list on Wednesday, and then we got a lot to talk about, in the industry.
Yeah.
The Supreme Jordan deal made a lot of noise. Did you get it?
It was chaos. No, I was actually driving to Boston, so I couldn't be on my phone. My buddy got a pair, which I felt like it was super easy for a lot of people to do it manually. I feel like a lot of people cop that without a bot or anything like that. Me personally, I'm not a Supreme fan, so I wasn't really like crazy about this release. But
I'm not a Supreme fan either. I thought the shoes were dope. I thought the black pair was flames.
Yeah.
I didn't get one. It's not that serious to me. I can't justify spending $200 on shoes. They restocked today. And there's a lot of rumors and a lot of talk. I don't know if Nike confirmed it. I think Heidi tweeted something or other about it, but a lot of talk about mags dropping tomorrow with the Back to the Future tie-in.
Yeah, I saw that tweet. Actually, it was like a half hour ago. It's interesting. I haven't really heard any confirms about the Air Mags dropping tomorrow. It might just be an announcement, or it might just be that Bruin that's dropping tomorrow on Nike Lab. Who really knows if they're trolling us or if it's actually going to drop? I have no clue.
And then the last thing that I want to touch on before we get into you and all the things that you're doing out here is the YouTubers, the guys, I guess, T. Blake, Hess, Dells, Yo Anti. Those guys all had a little thing at Saucony up in Boston, right?
Yeah,
You were there. I think I saw it on your timeline that you were there hanging with those guys.
Yep, I was there.
So what was that about? Why don't you talk about that a little bit? Because, they brought a ton of guys in to do some stuff. So.
Yeah, so I think about a year ago I got involved with Saucony, and they had hit me up, and we did a giveaway. And from there, my relationship with them grew. And one of the projects that came was creating an influencers list. And one thing I wanted to do was, the problem with Saucony is that they have great products. I know you're not a huge fan of them, but they have great product. What happens is they choose wrong materials and colors. So that's been something they're working on, and you'll start seeing that in spring and fall of next year. change a little bit. So one thing I want to do is get an influencers list, and a lot of those YouTube guys, you know, I had came across in the past, and I felt like would be a good group of guys that could kind of get the product out there. So you kind of see it in on more
So
avenues.
you chose the list.
I didn't choose the list specifically, but I did help develop it.
Okay.
And
so, you know, I guess the funny thing was, you know, I'm not a Saucony guy. I don't even know how to say it right. You know, it's just not my lane. And I was following along and I was watching, you know, because I'm a consumer of the social world in sneakers, you know, and I just like to observe. I like to, you know, see what's going on, fire shots here and there and kind of stir it up. But I was watching it, and on Friday night, I was driving to Rochester, New York from Jersey, about a 6-hour drive. And I saw something pop across the timeline. Hopefully we'll get a picture up there. I don't know if it's already up. But a couple of the guys were hanging and they're drinking beers and they're laughing, and a picture goes up, hashtag the sit down. And I thought it was a little bit funny that on a Friday night, these guys are out, a guest at a brand, and they're thinking about me. And I don't know if it was like what it was meant to be, but I could tell you, like, I was laughing and I was real happy. And I want to shout out to Dells, and I want to shout out to Yo Anti, and I think the other guy in the picture is Hess. And I want to shout out to them for keeping the show in their mind and keeping it out there to their followers and supporting the sit down, and I appreciate you guys. So I thought that was an interesting deal.
Yeah,
what do you think goes through somebody's mind when they do stuff like that, Ivan?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't see the photo. I didn't see the hashtag, to be honest. I would actually, is it up? Can I see it or no?
Let me see. Yeah, it's up. I mean, it's up. It's up.
Okay, so they could see it, but all right.
Yeah, I don't think we can.
I mean, I don't know what's going through their head. I think you know, as much as you pick fun at them, they're gonna pick fun back. So I think it was just, I don't know, out of just, you know, what happened last week or whatever. I mean, I only caught like 15 or 20 minutes, unfortunately, last week. But again, I think it's just, you know, it's kind of this back and forth tug of war. So
I have fun with it, and you know, I think it keeps it fun and interesting, and I don't take none of that stuff personal. Again, I appreciated that they put my tag up on their picture. I thought that was kind of dope. But getting into Saucony and your relationship with the brand, I guess you were kind of I know that the whole thing with Saucony was the originators, but I guess you were really the originator of developing with the brand. But let me ask you this. I mean, was it that you liked Saucony and that's how the relationship began? Or did the relationship begin because they thought what you were doing was cool and got to you and then opened your eyes to the brand?
So no, it was a little bit of both. I think when the first pack I got was we did a giveaway on the 3-dot pack, and that's the Grid 9000. And when that came in, that was my first experience, I guess, with the brand, and I kind of enjoyed that experience. So what I did was I reached out and I said, hey, like, I want this to go further than just this one giveaway. Let's keep this relationship going. And as I got more pairs, you know, you weed out what you like and what you don't like. And one thing I've been involved with is being able to go to the headquarters and say, hey, I don't like this, I don't like that, but I do like this. And I think it's I think a lot of people, I think, misunderstand it and think that it's trying to be forced. I think it was never meant to look organic or come across organic. All we're doing is giving them content to create with. Whether, you know, we did have our problems where it wasn't balanced correctly, and you know, we were seeding the same people, the same pairs. So there was a lot of things that Saucony had to do better. To blame that on the YouTube guys, I mean, and there's no like written up, like we don't tell them like you have to review the shoe or, you know, you have to like the shoe. It's nothing
so
like.
Are you a paid employee of the brand?
No, I'm not. Saucony has never paid me a cent for any of the work that I did. I did it out of, you know, respect. I became friends with, you know, the marketing director there, and that's my buddy. And we just wanted to, you know, I wanted to help him in his career. to push that forward and kind of give him direction, as you know, he was new to the scene as much as I was, and we were kind of just bouncing ideas off of each other.
One of the reasons that I wanted to put you on, Ivan, and I was kind of telling you this off air, is up until this episode, we've had some older guys on the show. We had Nick on the show, who's been around a long time. Corgi's been around a long time. We've had a lot of people who've, you know, Rack's not a kid, and we've had a lot of people that in their 30s or thereabout. You're a young guy, so you're hitting to a whole new demographic, and you're looking at the sneaker game through a whole new lens, a lens that I don't have the ability to look through because, you know, I've been around a lot longer and I'm a little bit older than you are. What's your take? Like, what got you going and what got you starting? And tell everybody about Sneaker Shouts and tell your story real quick, because it's a good story. Yeah.
So, I mean, I've always been into sneakers since like 5th, 6th grade. I actually got a job in 8th grade working under the table just to be able to buy them, as my parents wouldn't. And I think a lot of people came up like that. But I mean, like you said earlier, like I didn't, you know, I wasn't born in 85. I wasn't alive to, you know, witness any of those moments. But one thing we do have is ESPN Classic. So I had to witness that a lot through ESPN Classic. And I think the legacy of Jordan just kind of was something to look up to, even growing up, even if you didn't watch him, you know, in person. I just became a fan of, you know, Air Jordans, Nikes, Adidas. You know, those were probably the 3 brands that I actually supported growing up. And you know, as a young kid, you're really limited to what you could buy. So you can't really go out and experiment, which comes back to, again, you asked me, you know, was I a fan of Saucony? No, when I was younger, you know, I wasn't thinking about trainers. And you even look at how runners came up in the game. I don't think people back in the day were spending money on runners. But anyway, so I started working for Karmaloop probably my freshman year in college. And that's how I kind of got a taste of social media and kind of how, you know, to build a community online and how you can monetize that and how you could send them, you know, create, you know, a business strategy around them. And, you know, I actually took the Sneaker Shouts idea, which all was at first was an Instagram page where you could hashtag. And what I saw was people were taking like, you went from really taking like really crappy photos of your shoes to like people using nice cameras, actually like posing, you know, actually putting time to, you know, take a better photo and post that on Instagram. So really all I did with Sneaker Shouts was I saw our community already doing that, and I said, I'm going to create that space for them. And I was actually one of the first, you know, feature or shout out pages that started. And it was just an idea of community building, letting your community build the content for you. And that's an idea that I actually pitched to Karmaloop, and they actually didn't like it. So I kind of just ran with it with Sneaker Shouts. Even to this day, I tell all the guys, like, that's not even a name going back. If I was to, you know, create a blog, that's probably not the name I would have chose. But it works. So I stuck with it. But going back to the story, oh yeah, you guys.
Yeah, so you essentially created content for yourself that you can monetize on other people's content.
No, there was no at the time when the Instagram page started, I was not making a dime. It was just the idea, and it was just kind of cool to be, you know, in charge of this community page. So really, it was just reposting, connecting. You know, I met a lot of cool people through that. And I wasn't making, like, I didn't start monetizing stuff till maybe a year or 2 ago. And the first time I ever monetized something was, you know, selling ad space on the IG, which, you know, somebody would give me a very small fee and be able to get a shout out or a promoted post on my IG. That was like the first kind of taste of monetized content. But
so people were paying you to post their picture.
Yeah, not necessarily their sneaker photo. I would never charge somebody to post their sneaker photo, but like a T-shirt brand or like, you know, somebody who's selling a pair of kicks that, hey, you know, I want to sell this. It was just a small amount where they could get a promoted post. It was more like products and service-based companies. I'd never charged anyone to, like, you know, here's my own photo. I would never charge nobody to post that.
So at what point did you turn the Instagram page into the site?
So what came next after the IG, like the first 2 months, it got like 25 to 30K followers, and it kind of kept building. I think my hashtag is close to like 1 million hashtags. So I started the Twitter page probably like a year and a half ago now, and that was kind of just I use the IG. If you look at the way it's set up, the IG is more community. So I take, you know, submitted photos and repost them. It's not like really sneaker news or anything like that. And the Twitter feed, since I assume people are probably going to follow both, I don't want to give them the same content in two different avenues. I usually use a Twitter for like sneaker news, latest drops. And then the site really hasn't even been that active until a couple months ago when I decided, hey, I'm going to start, I can't compete with Nice Kicks. I can't compete with Soul Collector. I can't compete with, sneaker news, none of the Kicks on Fire, none of the big guys. So what I got to do is find my lane, find my niche. And so I came up with the idea of, dropping that releases page where you could come to my site every day and keep track of, all the latest sneakers that's came out.
And then, at what point did you begin to use the site to work with the affiliate links? Because I think, and correct me if I got this wrong, but you're kind of the godfather of the link deal. Like, you were one of the first guys doing affiliate links and getting paid for it, correct?
You know what? It's crazy because I think the affiliate atmosphere has always been there. I think like over the last year, it's really blew up and it's kind of not became a secret anymore. Like if you look at, any of these blogs have been doing what I'm doing. I'm just putting it on your timeline versus, in a blog post. So I think it's just became more known versus, me being the godfather. I just kind of was, one of the first pages to do it and pioneering that in terms of, dropping those links on IG or Twitter or whatever avenues they are. And you see a lot of people come in and out of it, but it's really something that you got to be, smart enough, and not even smart enough. You got to be just knowledgeable enough of the industry to know, hey, this is stuff that people might want, that people might not want. And I think a lot of people come in and out because they don't have a good sense of that. And I've worked with a couple guys, trying to show them that, the lanes, and they just don't have the same ability to read that or be able to balance the content, because you don't want to go too much links. You don't want to go too much news, or you don't want to go too much, community posts. There's got to be that balance where it all kind of works and you kind of give people stuff that they want versus, stuff that you think they want. So,
but you get paid a commission by the brand or retailer for every sale you make, correct?
Yeah, any retailer who participates. There's some that don't. I know when I post Villa, they do not participate. And when I post Finish Line, they participate. And Finish Line don't pay on retros. Nike doesn't pay on retros. There's a lot of stuff that I think people don't understand behind the scenes, and it's really not their place to understand. As their consumer, does it matter if we're getting paid or not? As we're giving you a service of not having to scramble across the internet and try to find where shoes are restocking or where they're launching or worrying about any of that. But yeah, some retailers who do participate do, disclose a commission on those links.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because as I was kind of researching this affiliate link thing and digging into a little bit, there's pyramid ability there, correct? So if you get involved with the links and then or you become an affiliate, right? And then you get others to sign, you get a commission on their sales.
It depends what affiliate, company you're working with. Most will give you, if you sign somebody up, they'll give you $100 bonus, and some will give you, a lifetime earning for like 1 or 2 years. So eventually, no, it's not really a pyramid. That's where it's sustainable, because eventually it does go away.
So, okay. And did you, when you first got involved, because you were really the first guy doing it on a large scale anyways, from like my eyes, when I saw like, I'm not talking about some of the bigger entities. I'm talking about like grassroots. Yeah. And you have a lot of connects. You built a lot of relationships. You had the Instagram page. You probably signed a lot of guys up.
No, actually, I've only signed 5 people up, and 2 which are currently actually kicked off. I actually signed them up and then got them kicked off because what they were doing was just running a script that took my tweet, switched the link out, and posted it. So a lot of people were getting confused, thinking I was running these other pages when I, in fact, wasn't. So really, to this day, I only have 3 people technically under my pyramid.
Interesting.
And I'm very selective. I don't just, hand that out to anybody. I really try to work with people that I believe in or think they, have a good page that's in a different direction than mine. I'm not just out there just giving the link, because to me, it's really not about that. It's about being able to deliver the content. And one thing people don't understand is like I was giving you the same content already. Like
Right.
when I posted like an on foot look at this shoe, what I would get was people would tweet at me like, where can I buy that shoe? Where can I buy that shoe? So all I saw was an opportunity to say, hey, you know, I'm going to show you the shoe, and also here, you can buy it here, so you can stop asking me that.
No, it's fucking smart, dude. I mean, anytime you could take something that you're doing and you're having fun doing and monetize it. And I think, you know, back to the YouTube guys, like I'm happy as hell for them that they were able to monetize their platform. I think that that's really dope. Anytime you could monetize shit, if somebody wants to pay me to do something for them on the sit down, I would do it. I mean, anytime you could monetize, that's what the name of the game is here. And I think that's one of the things that the younger generation in sneakers has done better than my generation, is turn the passion for the product into a platform to monetize.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's new ways to do so. It's a whole different culture. It's a whole different avenue that we're going. And it's just more abilities. I mean, the blog, like I said, the blogs have been doing this forever. It was just not known. They were just running a script that turned any outbound link to an affiliate link. And it's been a thing. It's just really blew up in the last year or so.
Did you graduate college?
Yeah, I graduated a year ago with a marketing degree.
Okay. So you took the education that you were getting, and I mean, you're a pretty smart guy. I mean, shit. I mean, look. I mean, I wouldn't have thought. I like to think I'm not the dumbest dude out there, but I don't know. I would have thought about this. I'm not tech savvy enough, and I mean, that's a pretty good deal. Do you have a day job, or are you making all your money just on links and content and page
Right
views
now,
and ads?
So when I graduated, I turned down a job. I kind of wanted to just give this a go, and this is what I'm doing full time right now. So I don't have a day job or anything like that.
That's dope. I mean, think about that you're able to make enough money to survive and hopefully live good. Seems like you're doing well just based on doing something that you enjoy doing every single day. And I think that that's something that I think the audience would think it would be dope.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain lifestyle or you know, assumptions that come, but I'm still eating off the dollar menu, man.
Well, that's not good. You're in Rhode Island. Hang on a second. Time out. You're in Rhode Island, right? Where in Rhode Island you live?
I live like 5 minutes outside of Providence. It's called Work.
So I know the area real good because I used to run that area for Finish Line a bunch of years ago. So in Rhode Island, which is, by the way, one of the most underrated food places in the country.
We got great food here.
Great food. Great food. You're eating from the fucking dollar menu?
Hey, man, I like that stuff. But no, I mean, I go by the water. I go down Fed Hill. I go down there. I mean, I enjoy myself. But I mean, people, you know, think that, you know, I'm living this luxurious lifestyle, and that's not correct.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think social media gives the people the illusion that something is the way it isn't, because you can show just what you want. The lens is a one-sided lens. So people, listen, nobody's gonna post the bills that are piling up or what came. You know what I mean? You're only gonna post the dope shit you do and the fun times you have and all that.
No, I'm not struggling, but like, I guess my point is like, you know, when you choose to do this versus, you know, a 40-hour week, you know, I don't, you know, I gotta factor in, you know, my taxes. I have to factor in my expenses. I have to factor in, you know, the fact that, you know, this could all go away if all the retailers just said, hey, you know, we don't want to participate in these programs anymore. So it's
that
like
happened with Adidas recently.
Well, no, what Adidas did was they just centralized their affiliate program. So they cut out all third parties. So yeah, I still have access to, you know, work with Adidas and all them. They just kind of wanted to bring all that in-house and kind of manage that a little better. Because, you know, when you go through these third parties, it can get kind of hectic to manage. So I think just for their own benefit, I think they probably overspent, you know, they paid out on the Yeezys and stuff like that, which they shouldn't have. And so I think they just spent over their budget and kind of wanted to bring that all into one place so they could monitor it a little better.
Do you think it's going to dry up?
I mean, I don't think so. And I think like what people don't get is like a lot of the hype product we don't even make money on. So when we're talking about that, giving you the links for that, we're not really making money on that. We're just giving you that service because we know you want it. What you really like monetize and make money off is the stuff that sits on shelves that people want, because that's what you could sell, a ton of, and I think a lot of people get that twisted.
What do you think is what do you think is some of the dopest things going on in sneakers right now? What do you look forward to?
I mean, I think it's more the new product and the new technology. I'm more following like the companies and the new stuff coming out. In terms of like media, I like it's kind of crazy, but like I barely check my Instagram feed. I barely check my Twitter feed. I'm just either working on what I have to work on and kind of so consumed in my life. I have a personal life outside of sneakers that I try to, maintain as well. But I think right now it's really like what's exciting for me is to see, Saucony kind of turn things around, see Adidas really start becoming a player in the game. And it's going to be exciting to see kind of what Nike brings to the table too as well. Even tomorrow with that announcement, it's really like, what's the future for sneakers? And I kind of think that's what's exciting in terms of my opinion.
Do you think some of the other brands are closing the gap on Nike or not?
Closing a gap? It's a big gap to close, but I think
huge gap.
I think Adidas is making the right steps in terms of like, it was just cool to see like All-Star Weekend, Nike had like 50 something SKUs drop and Adidas had a couple. They just had the Yeezy and it really just took over New York and Nike was like the sponsor of that. And it was crazy. Like all people were talking about was Adidas and the Yeezy. So it's kind of cool to see them kind of, play off of Kanye and even just like cross-selling with the Ultra Boost and the Pure Boost and all those products coming out. It's kind of cool to see. I don't think they're closing the gap quite yet, or it's going to take a while, but they're definitely taking the right steps and partnering with the right people to kind of make those steps forward, to kind of even just give them a little competition.
What's your goal for the site? I mean, are you trying to grow it? I know you said you're not trying to compete with Kicks on Fire or Nice Kicks or Sneaker News or any of those guys, but why? Why not? I mean, it's not like any of those guys are doing such great work that you can't compete with them.
It's not that. It's more of like a manpower type of standpoint. I don't have the staff they do. I don't have the resources they do. Nor do I have the presence or, they've been around for a long time. So a lot of people know their name and they're already kind of, in the industry where it's like, how do you break a barrier where it's like you give, you feed these people your content first. How do I get into the mix of that? I'm always going to be late to the party. And it's not even like I don't even stress over posting things first. What I try to focus on is posting what people want to see and want to know about and posting it in a correct form. Whether, make sure you have the best pictures, make sure you have, the most up-to-date information. And like people trip, like, if a news comes out at 9 a.m. and I don't post it at 9 a.m., but I post it at 4 p.m. when everybody's left school and out of work, I'm still going to get the clicks. Because people miss that in the morning. So it's like I don't even trip over like being the first to post anything. But like my direction right now is the releases page. That's what I have. I already have a team of developers working on that with me. Luckily, I found a group of guys that believe in my vision and are helping me develop that releases page. And kind of I think that's the step forward, moving forward. I think people care less and less about the fat in news, and they just want to I want to know the shoe, know the name, the materials, where I could buy it. I think people care less about, knowing so much about not nonsense, but like sometimes these articles are like 3-4 paragraphs long and really you just wanted to read like 3 sentences. So I think the attention span online is a little dimmed down.
Ivan, we got a question from Eddie Wynn Sneakers. Eddie Wynn says, Sneaker Shouts, what do you think about ass and titties?
I know who that is. That's Eddie. So actually, what happened was in Boston, we came across this singer on the side of the street that was just singing this song called Ass and Titties. And we kind of like recorded him. And what we found out was this dude's actually like been on TMZ and this dude's actually like famous.
For singing about ass and titties.
Yeah, but Eddie, that was a terrible question.
That is That is a terrible question. I thought it was going to be a better story, man. I thought there was something to that. So you were in
Nah,
Boston with you were in Boston with all those guys last week.
yeah.
What was that like? Like, what was going on out there? Like, talk about the Johnny Cupcakes deal. You know what I heard about Johnny Cupcakes? I don't know about if you know about this. I heard he nailed Kimmy Gibbler from Full House.
No, I mean, Johnny's a good friend of mine, but have never talked to him about his sexual life. Nor do I want to. He's a great guy, and he just got married, so I have no clue if those rumors are true.
I don't know. It's allegedly. I heard it, through the internet back channels.
I don't know. I'll have to ask him about that then, behind closed doors, though.
So he's got a G-Shock, and then he did a collab with Saucony, right?
So he does. So yeah, they have the G-Shock dropping next month. They're gonna do a private event and then a public event in New York. I think November 12th and 13th. I might be wrong on those dates. But I know it's the 12th is the media, which I think one of the ladies from Complex, I forget her name, will be hosting the event.
Was it Emily Oberg?
Yep, her.
Yeah, she's smoking hot, dude. Jeez.
Yes, she's popping on socials right now. So good for her.
Smoking hot. She does Complex News, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not really that too familiar with her. I've seen a couple of her segments, I think, here and there, just coming across it. But she'll be hosting the event with G-Shock. There'll be a ton of media, and I think the watch will be limited. And then next year, I want to say next year, I don't know if it's 16 or 17, Johnny Cupcakes will have a collab with Saucony.
Okay.
I just can't talk about any other concepts or models.
Sure. Do you think that brand can break through? Do you think they could break through and tap into the lane that maybe, I guess I would say they're probably trying to get in that ASICS lane, right? That ASICS Ronnie Fieg kind of. That would be where they would try and fit in. I mean, where else?
I think all runners want to be New Balance at the end of the day, but I can't say that they want to be ASICS. Or they want to be. I think they just want to kind of work on their own line. Like one thing I know I've talked with Brandon over at Saucony is just find out what we're doing wrong and try to fix that. Like a lot of it was materials and colors, like I said before. But I don't think we sit there we've never sit there and say, hey, we want to be them or we want to be that. Kind of what I always want to do when I go in there is say how can we make our products a little bit better, and just kind of let's figure out the Saucony culture and that's why I don't know if you see any other brands doing what Saucony did and bringing those guys out and kind of trying to invest and test.
Well, Li Ning did it a little bit with, maybe not the same thing. They did it a little bit with the Way of Wade.
Yeah, I saw that today. It looked like a lot of basketball players and the sneaker reviewers that kind of are into the basketball. I guess the only difference though is I didn't see nobody taking shots at that event, and a lot of people were taking shots at the Saucony event. Really, what's the difference?
Can I tell you? I think both are whack. I think I have no interest in. I think that's a fair point. I have no interest in a Li Ning sneaker. I don't have a pair. I'm never gonna have a pair. I don't care if they put diamonds and gold on a Dwayne Wade shoe. I'm not gonna buy it. The same with Saucony.
That's not.
To me also.
Do you play basketball every day, or do you play it once a week, or any of that?
I mean, listen. I don't.
You're not a basketball. You know what I'm saying?
Even when I play, I'm not actually playing. I'm just out there.
Yeah. So they're not even you know what I'm saying? That company's looking at it as we invite these ball players. Why? Because who follows the ball players? People who play basketball. It's kind of
I don't even know. I looked at the group. I don't know if it's all ball. Rack's not playing basketball.
But he's there for whatever reasons he's there for. But you don't really know if it's because he's at Kicks on Fire or he has certain relationships. But
right.
he does have that influence. Where within that influence, there's going to be kids who like ball shoes who want to know, what technology went into this shoe, and you never know. You might try that shoe over, the new Hyperfuse.
So that's a fair point. So why do you think that is then? Why do you think there were shots at the Saucony event and no shots at the Li Ning event?
I don't know if there weren't any shots. Not that I saw.
Didn't see any, and I'm looking for that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know. Honestly, I don't.
You think the YouTubers get hate, extra hate for no reason?
I mean, there was YouTubers at the, Ling Ling event or whatever.
The
I
only
don't
one
know.
who was at both is Fomer.
Yeah, Fulmer was at both, and we all knew he was going there. But I mean, I don't. I know like Kicks Genius was there, and who else? Weird Testers. Those are like the two guys that I'm familiar with that were there.
Russ Benston's there.
Yeah, I don't know like what type of hate they get, or what kind of. I don't know if YouTubers get a little more hate, maybe because they're more on camera. And again, I think it comes back to something that we always talk about is some people argue their content's not that great, or their content's not up to par, but it's YouTube. Like there's no floor, there's no ceiling, like there's no book on this is how it's supposed to be done, and I think that's what makes it fun.
Can I make it something I kind of thought of as you were talking about it, and I thought it was a good question why there was like shots at this event and not at this event. But as I'm thinking about it, like I think some of those guys, like if I said something that Russ Bankston wrote sucked, I don't think he would care. The guy's an established writer, Slam Magazine, Complex, the whole nine. So if I criticized him, I don't think he would care. If I take a shot at Hess Kicks, he's going to be in my mentions for an hour crying.
I mean, a lot of it is how if you take a shot at him more than once. I think like the first time you let it go, the second time it's like whatever. I think it gets to a point though where it's like you go after anybody's work, even outside of sneakers. If I go to my doctors and I tell them, hey, I think you're a terrible doctor. To some degree, you're gonna defend your work, or you're gonna defend what you do, especially when you're passionate about it. I honestly think if you was to keep talking about Russ's work, he would say something to you. Now it comes down to whether you vent on social media, or you vent to a personal friend, or your parents, or your therapist, whatever you want to do is that's on you. But I think to some degree that's going to bother you, especially you read some of these YouTube comments and it's like, man, what possesses you to write that about somebody?
Some of the comments are really wild. They're really wild.
So it's like it takes a toll time after time. And like I said, if you go after anybody's work to some degree, they're gonna defend that. I mean, I almost expect them to defend that to some degree.
I agree. I think that's a fair point. And I think that it's great that those guys are proud of their work and that they're proud of what they're doing. And listen, I thought while I think Saucony is not something I can relate to, well, I'm not a fan of the brand. I've never owned a pair. I don't know that I ever plan on owning a pair.
So what runners do you put on when you got to go just run an errand?
I mean, I wear Nike runners. I have New Balance. I have Asics. I have Brooks. Brooks.
So what is it about Saucony you just don't like? Maybe
I just never connected with it. Sneakers is kind of like an emotional connection with the brand. It's all about taste and flavor. Like you just connect with something, the way it fits, the way it feels, the way it looks, the way everything. And it just never connected with me. I never had a pair. Listen, I mean, in the 20 plus years that I worked on the retail side of it, they have some very high tech shoes that I can tell you when I was a sales associate, I've recommended to runners for running.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't make good technical running shoes. I'm saying I've never connected with the brand. I don't have a plan to ever say, hey, let me, I don't know that, but look, man, I'm 37 years old. I'm not going to be like, oh, let me try this new thing. I'm not about that.
Sticking to what you know and what you like. So what do you wear from Asics?
I mean, I wear whatever catches my eyes. If for a performance platform, I like the Kayano. Yep. When I did the 06 women's, people don't realize this because I'm such a fat bastard, but when I ran the women's marathon for Nike in 2006 in San Francisco, and I ran the Nike marathon. I actually ran it in an Asics Gel Kayano. I like the Gel Light. I don't like the 3 because the split tongue doesn't feel right or look right on my feet. I like the Gel Light 5. They're cool, like the New Balance 1500, 1600, the 999.
I feel like Asics, outside of what they've done in collab wise, they haven't really had a good strategy with like the other models. Like most people only wear Gel Light 3s or 5s. I don't see really anything else unless it's a collab. People like specifically choosing a model inline.
I think they have a lot of problems. I think Ronnie's done a lot for them. because what happens with Ronnie is he'll put a collab out for the Gel A3, and then all the retailers will carry inline colors in that same silhouette. And the inline colors will sell because people couldn't get Ronnie's shoe and they equate them to each other. So it makes the entire silhouette. But I think the brand doesn't really have great direction. And I think that, the failure of their retail stores hurt them on the performance level also. I think Brooks has passed them from a performance standpoint. Mizuno has as well. So, I know we're getting into a little bit of some real sneaker nerd shit, but that's kind of,
Yeah.
my take.
I think runners in general are struggling a little bit. One thing I know for sure, next year is there going to be a lot less collabs, so it'll be more interesting to see what they could do with their inline stuff. But again, like you said, you're old. You've established your brands.
I didn't say I was old.
Well,
old.
You're older. You're older. Compared to me, you're old.
Right. That's all right. I ain't mad at it.
And you established your brands, but I mean, look at your 23, your 24-year-old self, and you're probably experimenting a little more. So I think you're just a little more established in kind of what you've chosen.
Definitely not target customer.
Fine.
One of the comments in the chat is Saucony is just fucking ugly. Go out on the streets and ask 100 people. Majority will say they ugly ass shit.
I mean, I think a report came back and said, Saucony's brand awareness is 1%. And I think it's just not a brand that's well known. But I mean, to say they're fucking ugly, that's your opinion. But I think, there are.
That was a comment from
whoever,
one of the viewers.
I don't even want to try to pronounce that dude's name, Nucci DeLucci. But I mean, again, like, it's your personal preference. I think, there's some models at Saucony that are ugly, in my opinion. Just like there's some Jordan models that are ugly, in my opinion. And that's a great thing about sneakers is that, you don't have to like every shoe that comes out. You don't have to like every colorway. The brands aren't asking you to do that. In a perfect world, they love that. But I think that's what makes the sneaker culture fascinating is that my top 10 is going to be different from your top 10. What I choose to wear on a daily basis is going to be different. I think that's what makes us kind of have our own unique taste and be able to express ourselves. So I don't think there's anything wrong with disliking or liking a brand more than the other.
I think the last thing you said, I think is what's really lacking in sneakers is that there is no more originality or not enough. I mean,
go to the shows. Every kid's looking for that. I could probably name the 6 shoes that they're looking for.
Everybody wants to look the same. So what do you think a brand has to do? I mean, Saucony isn't just one brand, but I think they all have to do. What do you think a brand has to do to break through and prove to kids or the consumer, whoever the consumer is, that they're cool, and to change to not want the 6 shoes that everybody wants in the show? What can a brand do? How do they break that?
I mean, it's like I'll speak from my own experience at Saucony. I think their pricing strategy is off. I think a lot of brands' pricing strategy is off. And it just comes to, being able to, okay, like this shoe's come out. It's cool, but do I want to pay this money for it? No. Most of the times it's no. You wait for that shoe to go on sale and then you buy it. So why not price it to begin with where, the consumer will say, hey, it's even just educating your consumer on why that price point is there. Sometimes, like, especially with Saucony, it's hard to, this is something we talked about this weekend. It's hard to differentiate the premium product from the, just like the, inline product, not the premium from just the regular. So you don't really see that material. Like, you could put all perforated suede on a shoe, but if the consumer doesn't know that or understand why that's better than the other, and, sometimes as a sneaker, a sneaker enthusiast, I understand that. I understand materials, but you got to look at most of the kids don't understand that. They just see, a shoe, a model, a colorway, a price, and then a resale value. And I think that's kind of where the market is. So kids literally aren't buying a shoe, or let's reverse that. They're buying a shoe because it's gonna resell. They don't actually like the shoe, but they say, hey, you know what? I can make $5,200 if I buy this shoe. I'll put up my money. And I think that's something that I had an opportunity to buy the Supreme Jordan 5, the black colorway for retail. And I actually turned that down because that's just not something I do. I don't rely on buying and selling a shoe just because I have the opportunity to, where I think, the market is kind of moved in that way. And you see it at the sneaker shows, where the hell do these kids get $1,000 to, spend on a Yeezy? I never had that money as a kid. I was buying shoes out of an East Bay catalog, and as soon as they came in, I wore them to school, and they'll probably dog them within 2 weeks. I think I think kids in the sneaker market now look at it as more of a commodity. Like it's a business decision to not wear my shoe because it's going to be worth more than if I wear it. And there's kids that literally tell me this, like that's what I do is like it's a business decision for me to buy the shoe, not wear it, and wait on it to kind of spike. Where we bought shoes, wore it right away because we wanted to be the first ones, and kind of actually enjoy the shoe. I don't think these kids actually enjoy the shoe anymore.
I agree 100%. And I think the funny thing is that I got a guy who's, 24, 23 years old? Not even?
23, yeah.
23 years old talking about these kids. And I think that's the divide in the sneaker game is my generation, your generation, and now the next generation coming up in the thing, but a completely different code than what you or even I have.
Well, I think it just like terms and how you experience the culture is different. That's why I think it's segmented into different kind of eras. I was in an era where I could have woke up at 10 a.m. The store was open for an hour now. I hopped on a bus and I could go get the Aqua 8s. This year when the Aqua 8s come back out, it's going to sell out immediately. And I had the option to buy, the women's colorway in the Aqua 8s. And I was like, maybe next week I'll come back if I have the money. So I experienced the culture a little different where it was like, I guess, less saturated. Now I feel like, you just have so many more kids who's getting into it, which is great. That's a great thing to have. But at the same time, it's like you got to be willing to, experiment, try new shoes or the problem may be that they just don't have the options, or the money to spend. Like most kids won't spend money on that shoe because they look at it as sending money down the drain. Where I've never looked at the sneaker market like that. So I think it's just like a different perspective, and I don't think I can actually tap into it and see it how they see it. I'm seeing it how I'm seeing it, and I could be reading that completely wrong.
Well, I think as the business has expanded and as the business has grown into a multi-billion-dollar industry, I think that the desire to monetize everything is really taking over the passion for the product. It's no longer about how much you really like a shoe. It's how can you use the platform, how can you use the fad or the hobby to get paid. And that nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think it starts for everybody with shoes are cool. I like the way they look. I like Jordans. I like Nikes. I like what I like and I like the style. Now, because I like it, how can I get it to make money? And I think there's a large group,
and I think there's a large group that's not. I mean, you go to these shows and you can ask somebody, hey, how much for that shoe? Oh, it's not for sale. So I think a lot of people, are still doing it to collect, and I think they still want to show it off because you go to these shows, they're not selling the shoes, they're just buying tables to display their sneakers and kind of show off, which is something that I've never understood because, my collection is sitting right here behind me and I've never brought it to a show. I've never done any reviews on it. I don't plan to. It's just something that I know I have. I know I could go pick out a shoe and wear a brand new pair of shoes somewhere if I want to. I've always been the type to express it on foot, out at an event. And it's funny because I actually buy less and less shoes now, not because I'm being seeded or I'm getting stuff for free, but just because, like, after college, there's really no successful place where I could be like, okay, like I have to bring out a new pair of shoes, or, I'm not in high school anymore where you want to just go show your kicks off at school. I just have nowhere to go to be able to show them off. So my shoes kind of just pile up, and I've kind of been just getting rid of them little by little, just to kind of downsize and be more mobile. But
I think that one of the really cool things that's happened in the evolution of the industry over the years is the different avenues to monetize, from content on platforms such as websites and blogs and YouTube, the ability to monetize that, the ability to monetize by reselling. And I used to be one who hated, I used to hate the resellers. I used to crusade against them. And now my attitude is get paid. Like, if you buy a shoe, who cares what you do with it once you got it. If you want to make a couple bucks, by all means, go for it. And then I think the different avenues to monetize, and the links and all that, like, I think that's been really good for the industry. And look, I mean, I think, and one of the, like I said, the reason I wanted to put you on is you're a young guy who found a way to make a living.
Yeah.
Just in this space, and being creative and being, different, and kind of pushing that agenda for yourself, and not fronting like I'm doing this for, I'm providing, like I'm doing this for the community. No, you're doing this to monetize and to make money, and good for you. And do you provide a service? Absolutely. Is it a valuable service? Sure. Do you make people's lives easier? Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're putting links out because you want to get paid.
I think no. Well, I think where you got to cut that mixed up a little bit is the fact that, one, I created Sneaker Shouts without the intent to make money. I started Sneaker Shouts as a community page. I was doing what I was doing already, maybe not as intensely, but like I was, hey, you could buy this shoe here, or you could buy this shoe here. The problem was I wasn't getting paid for it. And I think being at Karmaloop, I understood, I got really screwed at Karmaloop where, I made a ton of sales for them and my commission was very low. And as a young kid, I didn't know at the time I was being screwed. I look back at it now and say it's a great learning experience. So I don't get upset at it. I still love everybody. I love Greg over at Karmaloop. I still like Matt, even if they haven't reached out to me since. But you look back at those and you look at the deals you get now, but like this was something I was already doing and I was doing it for free. So if anything, the retailer was winning. And one thing I don't get is like a lot of people are like anti-links, or they'll actually like go around those links to buy the shoe. And what I don't get is like, why are you so upset at people trying, at the end of the day, that's coming out of Nike's end. Like, why wouldn't you be excited to say, okay, hey, we took a piece from Nike? And I think people just get all like get it mixed up a bit.
Yeah, I think going around the links is ridiculous. I think if there's a link out there for a product that you want, click it and let somebody get paid if it crossed your eyes and that's what it was. I think that I can tell you from my perspective, where I get exhausted by the links is when it clouds my timeline and prevents me from easily getting to the content that I want.
Yeah, so so you're talking about like a release day?
Like, yeah, like I literally unfollowed Nice Kicks because of it.
Yeah,
because, one of my favorite, and so Ivan, one of my favorite blogs is Icy Soul Online.
Yeah, I know.
I like Icy as a person, right?
Yeah.
I dig his site. I actually check for his site on a regular basis, but I couldn't follow his Twitter handle. I follow him on Instagram. I just couldn't follow his Twitter handle because he would just clog my feed with links. I'm not mad at him. He's got to do what he's got to do to get paid.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, I don't want that to be my content.
So my advice to you would be, you can actually, instead of unfollowing them, you could just mute them so none of their...
Well, I did that originally, but what happened was I would lose articles that I wanted to read with the bit.ly. So if like Complex would post an article with a bit.ly tag, if I mute bit.ly...
Oh, no, I'm saying you could like mute Icy. So as an individual, so you don't have to actually unfollow him. So you don't got to kind of look like, like a hater or whatever, or, hey, why'd you unfollow me? You can actually mute a user where their stuff just doesn't even pop up versus unfollowing.
I got to explore that mute button a little more. Well, listen, man, we're pushing up on an hour here. I want to, first of all, thanks for hopping on. Anybody who wants to check for Sneaker Shouts, it's just sneakershouts.com. And you got you're pumping that release page right now, where that's kind of your big landing area, right?
Yeah, that's my big project, and when I figure that out and get it the way I like it, there's going to be a few more things I want to introduce that's kind of cool for the culture.
And listen, I would suggest you guys follow Ivan's stuff. I mean, listen, he's a young guy. He's got a great entrepreneurial mind. He's figuring out a way to get paid in his space and do some different things. he clearly I know he says he doesn't get paid from Saucony, but he clearly is an ambassador for that brand. And listen, I hope you guys get where you want to go, and do the things that you want to do. I'm rooting for you. It's just because it's not for me.
It's gonna be an exciting year. Yep.
So I appreciate an hour of your time. I hope everybody enjoyed it. It was a little bit of a left turn, a little bit of a different interview here, but I thought you did a great job. And for everybody who's watching, we're gonna do something a little different next week. I think we're gonna bring a female on the show. We haven't had that this year, so that'll be another different perspective. And I think that's how we're gonna keep going and looking at different perspectives and seeing different things. And hopefully we get a lot of new looks and noise and a lot of talk in the sneaker space, because it just makes this stuff more interesting. So appreciate an hour of your time, man. Appreciate an hour. Everybody, please share the show if you liked it. Talk shit on it if you didn't like it. I don't really care. If you want to hate on it too, that's fun too. But just talk about it, have fun. And if you're enjoying it, or if you don't like it, please be vocal with it. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to get sensitive. So have a good night, everybody. Thank you for watching.
Damn it, I know you see that I'm the vegan of the year when it comes